welcome.
Hey everyone, what's going on?
Everybody. Welcome to another episode of Bobby's Cryptid Corner, where we talk about all things creepy, cryptid, and weird. I am your cryptid captain tonight. I am Momo the Ho-Ho, aka, I guess Jamie is my earthly name, but I like to change it up as much as I change my wigs.
Okay.
Oh, that is a wig tonight.
It's always a wig, Bobby. It's always a wig.
That's what she said.
Mm-hmm. Who else do I have here with me?
That would be you.
I'm Bobby of the Cryptid Corner. I guess we're not going clockwise or counterclockwise.
I thought. Oh yeah, that's right. Oh, my bad. I was gonna go counter.
We're going X ways.
Yeah,
I
we're cross
agree.
multiplying and dividing this introduction. I'm Bobby, known as Mo Money, Momo Problems tonight.
I love that Momo problems.
It's the best I could come up with in the short amount of time before I jumped on
I
here.
should be Momo the Homo.
That's what I thought. That's what I thought Jamie's was at first.
Yeah, he asked me that.
You should be Yoko Momo.
Momo, that's a good one.
Ooh, yeah, that is a good one. What are you though tonight? Smelly goat?
I'm Smelly Goat because this is a smelly one, but we still have one more boomer left to introduce.
Oh, yeah, the boomer bear biologist.
Why
And I just want to say,
why have we not taken that off of my shit?
I don't know. You're the one who has control of it.
You dug your own grave. You are the bear expert on the show.
Yeah.
Well,
You went from game warden to bear expert, bear doctor.
Well, yeah, but Kari added the boomer shit. So I'm the bear biologist, and this boomer apparently loves bears. I'm also known as Tony. I'm not a boomer. I'm almost 40, but not quite yet there.
Do you think that we could do we anticipate any bear puns tonight? I do.
Oh, several.
I do.
Yeah, for sure.
It's
I
an
can
endless
barely
well.
live without it.
Hey.
I was in Calistoga this weekend, and I thought of you, Tony.
Oh yeah, why?
Because Calistoga is a bottled water.
Ah.
Oh, I thought this was gonna turn into a big dick joke, but no.
Oh, you wish.
No,
Sorry.
she didn't say cookie dough. Tony, can you do me a favor and turn your mic up a little bit, please?
Oh, up.
Ooh, brought the peanut butter. Do you have a small dog?
Welcome everybody. Bibby, can you go ahead
off to
and
a head start.
Can you go ahead and give everybody a shout out as you always do before we jump into the episode?
Yeah, let's shout out the early arrivers. This is what you get when you arrive early. You get a shout out from us. First on the list is Renee Cruz, loyal Renee. Vash the Impaler showed up tonight. Thank God. Aaron Desario. He's a real chatty one already, so I can't wait to hear what his commentary is going to be. The one and only reason I do the show, Enzo, is here. I think I speak for everyone when I say that. Simon Fly, that's a new name to me. Is that not for you guys? You guys look like you are.
Simon's always here
all the time.
Fun fact.
All right, I show up for this thing. I'm not in your
early Toddy Waba. I think before he started following anyone on YouTube, he would listen to Jamie and I on audio.
Wow. Old school. Everyone knows Simon.
Old school.
Simon Fly. What?
Lou Reviews is here. Hi, Lou.
You forgot Vanessa.
Yeah, what the hell? We have to go in order.
Swink McLeod.
Sorry.
And then Joe 5D, of course, is here. And then Tony, one more time. Who else showed up at 8:35 p.m.?
Lou Reviews is here, and I think he's got a show that's going to be on in a little bit because.
Hides and Long Grass is here as well. I got to get back to him very, very soon. I'm sorry, I've been super busy. I got you, dog. I'll get back to you.
We'll get back to you one day.
Did we say Enzo? Because for some reason I didn't hear.
Enzo, yeah. Bobby said that the only reason he does this is Enzo.
Okay.
I think that's all of them. I think we got them all. I really want to know who Swink McLeod is because I love that name. Swink McLeod. Who are you? All right, Bree, why don't we get
Swinky.
Why don't we get into this episode? What are we doing today? We're doing Momo the Missouri Monster, aka the big smelly boy.
Big smelly boy. For a second I thought he was holding a joint with his hand like that, but it's not. It's just his hand.
It's
I say
not.
why not?
Split second, he was like, yeah, they call me
He was getting
Momo.
it. He was getting it. So what's interesting about this cryptid is it's incredibly local to one specific town, county kind of area. It's not so much like all these other cryptids that we do that end up being seen everywhere. But Momo itself is a very small phenomenon in a very small area. Although I feel like I could argue, and we will argue as this goes on, that it's possibly just a Bigfoot maybe, and it needs to be more under that umbrella. But we will get into that as the episode kind of comes along.
You got to think about too. The Momo phenomenon is another one of these highly concentrated kickoff in the early 70s. Most of the accounts we're going over tonight, I believe, are exactly in 1972 when all this whole town character kicked off. And to Jamie's point, like you said, it is. Could very well be a southern Bigfoot. It's right near that whole Boggy Creek Falk monster. You're going to see a lot of similarities with that in this one as well. But it does have some very unique characteristics that seem to be very specific to the area, which is also fascinating.
It took me a minute to realize Momo was Missouri Monster. I was like, wait, why Momo? And then I'm like, oh. Then I kept referencing like MO for their state, and I'm like, oh, duh, Missouri
Now it
Monster.
makes sense. Yeah.
Now, do we let's do a quick lightning round of our own personal AKAs. Do I want to put you on the spot?
No, that's fine. Like I said, my first one was Big Smelly Boy.
Big Smelly Boy. I feel like there's already a Big Smelly Boy, but we'll take it. Take it. Tony, you got any AKAs for Momo?
Yeah, fucking black bear.
I love that. Okay, Bree.
Shit. Harry Larry.
Ooh,
oh, I like it.
I do like it. Okay, Bibby.
I agree with Tony. It's a fucking bear. No. How about big silly smell guy? I don't know. I got nothing.
Wow. Okay. All right.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry, everyone.
I think I'm gonna be the only person that, like, off the bat, I don't actually think it's a Bigfoot.
Oh, okay.
It's a black bear.
It's a black bear.
Or a black bear. I don't think it's either.
I don't think it's a Bigfoot either. You're absolutely
right. Let's take a look at the descriptions to see how we can draw the black bear.
First, before we get into it, we need a warning. It's not this Momo, because when you go to Google and you type in Momo, this is what comes up. And I want everyone to understand that this was the Momo challenge, and it was a hoax. It was a thing on the internet, and it was like this thing that spread around. It was like, like what was that one movie, The Ring or whatever? Like, you watch the video, so then you had to do something. And it was like convincing kids to like do things like hurt themselves and like kill themselves and things. And it was 100% not real. And this is not
because it was a black bear.
Because it was a black bear. Yeah. So not this Momo. So get it out of your mind.
It is scary though. It really is.
That is terrifying to look at. I agree. Yeah.
All of the pictures of it.
I don't want to look at it anymore. And I
almost dated a chick that looked like this, and I'm gonna say,
was it only because her mouth was so big?
No, if her mouth was that big, I wouldn't have had a problem with it. The problem is the eyes.
It's the eyes. The eyes are what's unsettling.
Hey, California hippie girls, I have a question off topic real quick.
Of course.
You guys are all into like spirituality shit. A moth just landed in my room. What does that mean? I've never seen a moth.
Transformation.
Oh, you're going to be abducted by aliens tonight.
Transformation's coming for you.
Please.
It's actually an owl.
Bree, are you okay?
Shit.
That's what the moth was saying. It shut Bree up like Silence of the Lambs. Silence of the Goats. Oh
Do
my
you
Oh,
god.
hear
Lord
them,
Mother.
Clarice? Do you
Is she a
hear
great
the
big fat
lamb?
person? Put the
Oh.
fucking lotion in the basket.
Oh, okay. Well,
wow.
we'll just hang out over here, the three of us, while she comes back.
I guess Bree has some California weather.
Oh, this is actually a really good point, Bobby.
We got that Newsome Wi-Fi.
Moths usually say that bridges will collapse. That's what it's predicting.
Fucking great.
Yeah.
Sorry,
Fucking-
I'm back.
So
I'm
wait,
back.
every time I see a moth, I'm supposed to expect the bridge to collapse?
Yes.
All
I
right.
was holding
That'll
my
make the rules.
earphones. I'm still learning these earphones. So I
And you
was
turned them
holding
off?
them. And it was like, it was weird. So yeah. Anywho, what did I miss?
Nothing. We were
Nothing.
just
Talking
Physical
shit
waiting
about
for
you.
you.
Okay. All right. Let me
Yeah.
get back to Una Momento. Let's go back.
Is it
He is-
though?
He is you know what? To be honest, I'm kind of half and half about this. Maybe, yeah, don't engage because of extra stinky. There is a
think-
story that is off record that's just been told in the documentary about it.
Mm-hmm.
And there was indeed a woman who smelled his smell and had a heart attack.
Oh, yeah. I think
So
the
that's
stink
dangerous.
is what I think is the high risk here, because it's the fact that we have every single account talking about the smell coming from it. Like, it is mentioned every single time.
Yep, and that fact alone is unique. I mean, I feel like you do hear it a little more in the the southern Bigfoot stuff, the swampier lands. But Bigfoots in general, like they don't. I mean, it's only a certain percentage that report a smell. But for whatever reason, you're right. This one always seems to the witness seems to mention a pungent odor protruding from it.
I think it would be natural for any type of, whether it's like a normal animal or a creature, cryptid in general, to smell. But this one
Right.
seems to be over the line, like beyond just, some
Well, yeah, because
filthy,
people
hairy
aren't.
animal.
Yeah, people aren't just describing like a dirty animal, like a wet dog or something. They're saying it smells like fucking putrid.
Yeah,
like
but
death and rotten eggs.
Mm-hmm.
So how many of these people spend enough time out in the wilderness, and they're not just like people from the city who are like, "Oh my god, what's the smell?"
I'm sorry, do you know about this town? And not to mention it is Missouri, so it's not like it's a city. It is
No, Missouri's
basically
a
the middle
state
of nowhere.
with two giant cities.
I mean, like a city, but it's not anywhere close to that.
What is a
They
city?
basically are like San Francisco is a city.
Oh.
With
Well, speaking of smelly
mind.
places, San Francisco is also.
That's true. You
It's
might be
city.
used
Top
to
of that
that,
list.
actually.
Yeah.
You might be used to that in San Francisco.
No, I think what Tony's getting at here is yes. I would argue, to Bree's point, that I would assume most of these eyewitnesses are pretty familiar with the outdoors, more so than someone from a big city. But yes, having an encounter in any wild animal at close range, it's a pretty good chance in a lot of cases, I would say, right, Tony, that it might smell like a dirty old wild animal.
Yeah, foxes.
you'd
Foxes
be used
smell
to that.
horrible.
Yes, they do.
What about coyotes?
Coyotes, yes, absolutely smell horrible. They piss on themselves and they do all sorts of nasty shit. That's like most animals, even deer. Deer.
Ferrets. You have to like remove their sphincter or some shit like that.
I mean, I just remember
to
that.
clean their gland. You have to like clean the sphincter gland, or else ferrets are awful.
No, thank you.
Yeah, that's
We're
why
60 minutes in. We've also already talked about anus.
Did you guys hear about the story of the man that boarded a plane who smelled so bad that people started like vomiting on the airport? I mean, on the airplane, they were like vomiting on the airplane. People were getting sick, and it was from this one person.
I mean,
I believe
sounds
it.
Right.
Yeah, it sounds about right.
Sounds about right.
When was
yeah.
this? Can we do an episode on that?
Yeah,
We should do an episode on that.
Yeah. All right, Bree, tell us about these stats.
So
The
this
stinky aviator.
Harry
Bear.
Larry, is 7 feet tall, but 8 feet on a good day.
Just like a black
Ape.
bear.
Okay.
Save it for
Ape-ish
your
appearance.
segment.
Okay.
Possibly three-toed, if we believe a story we might hear about, which we already know there's only a small amount of Bigfoot casts that we've seen that have 3 toes, and most of the time it's like what was the swamp one? Was it the Fook monster?
Falk.
I think so.
Yeah.
I like Fook, but yeah, Falk.
Okay.
That had the 3 toes. So like in a
I believe
swampy
so.
area, that is the
Mhm.
only type of Bigfoot-like cast we've seen.
Because
that
that
has
one
3
was an
toes.
alligator, but
The rest of
Right. Well, there's
the
that,
rest
and
of
then
them
like
is
the
a
hardcore.
full 5 toes.
The hardcores seem to think, and I know I've mentioned it before, that the three-toed prints are a product of inbreeding, which makes sense. But a lot of the
Yes,
casts, I
thank you,
feel like
Cams.
look like a perfect, like, it's not just like an extra or missing digit. It looks like a perfect like
well, and some
alligator
people
print.
and some people say it's also because the adaptation of the area. So you have the 5 toes in the more like wooded, rocky area because they have to grip and walk on top of these things, and you have what looks like more of like a webbed toe with 3 feet that you see like on an alligator or ducks and things, and that's why you're seeing the difference of those prints like that. So it might be inbreeding, but I definitely think it has something to do maybe with genetics in a way. Absolutely.
Yeah, it's genetically a black bear.
Not really.
Yes, it
also, the body is covered in shaggy fur. So not just like normal Bigfoot where he's just covered head to toe, but almost like very long dreadlock type of hair, to where you can't see too many features other than just this huge like walking mop.
I'm sorry, Bree. What color is that hair?
Moptimus Prime. That's my AKA.
Not black bear hair.
It's black hair, but it's not black bear.
But
hair.
it's not
Gotcha.
black bear. Yes. The shape of the head from a particular eyewitness was that it was a large pumpkin-shaped head, and that the eyes are orange and glowing, but that's only if you can see it like peek through the dreadlocks. If you're lucky to be so close. And then also smells like carrion, and which is rotting dead animal flesh.
I would say that about maybe 50% of these attributes line up with a Bigfoot, but the other 50% is relatively unique to the Momo. More specifically, like you mentioned, the 3 toes. The body covered. I mean, you hear that in Bigfoot reports, but this almost seemed like I always read all these things about like no neck, like there was basically no neck. And that could be just, long
because there's
hair.
so much hair. Exactly.
But a Bigfoot head is always like conical or like, very like a pumpkin shaped head, though. That is so
more
upsetting.
round. Exactly.
Like round. Is that the hair, though?
Is that the hair? Exactly.
He's got a lot of
That
volume.
you have that oval underneath, but you see like, like with people with different haircuts and things, it can completely change the shape of what your head looks like.
Especially at a distance and stuff. But this seems to be a running description as the pumpkin shaped head.
Pumpkin-shaped head, yeah, for sure.
And this lends itself, this whole area, by the way, is like ripe with like UFO sightings and Thunderbird sightings and things like that. I think a lot of the other southern cryptids we've done, are more or less in this area as well. And like with a lot of these, town specific cryptids, you got your UFO guys coming in, lining up UFO sightings with cryptid sightings and all the crazy theories about how they're, Boy Scouts for the Greys, or,
we might touch on that
experimental
a little bit.
Prison planet creatures, things like that. So there's a lot of that. The Momo's probably second after the Chestnut Ridge incident, which we talked about a long time ago, probably on the first episode, as far as UFO and cryptid Bigfoot-like creature,
symbiosis
correlations
in a way.
Yeah.
For sure. And I was just thinking with you guys describing the different haircuts about, You know, when especially like you see this with other animals like dogs and whatnot. So I imagine for this creature, if you have so much hair and it starts to dread, it starts to mat, and it creates like that ball, which is like a straight ball nest. So who knows if that's really the shape of this cryptid? It could really just be that the hair is just so intensely long and nappy that it makes it look like that.
He's almost like a gigantic cousin-it.
Okay, and I actually think I added
I like that,
on
yeah.
my list this week. I was like, we should cover that whole topic.
Cousin-it?
The whole the story behind it. What is it? It's like dirty something is
The Stephen
name
King book?
No, we'll go back to it. It's something that like another local cryptid. They also called like the it, and then it was
I was
the thing,
monumentally
and it was,
confused just now. Okay.
Me
tapped
too.
into that. No.
Yeah, there's the it in that area, and there's also records of the devil. Just the devil. There's always the creature or the devil or something like that.
The devil.
Well,
for sure.
it's also extremely rare to see an animal that has like matted fur like that in the wild, like a wild animal, not a domesticated animal that is loose, but like most wild animals, their fur is adapted to their climate, and they won't get the mats and like the dreads or things like that,
which lends itself to like a renegade humanoid hominid / genetic engineering /
like it
drop
something
off
that's
creature,
not natural, because no animal grows excess fur to the point to where it is a problem in its
natural environment. Yeah.
In its survivability.
Maybe. Well, what do you think? Let's stay on this for a second. What do you think? Like a shaggy, nappy, dreaded monkey beast, like, is that are we defaulting that is not an advantage evolutionarily?
I mean, we're talking about dogs, or we're talking about
bears.
General,
no, we're talking about Momo.
Advantage.
We're talking about Momo.
It's not an advantage.
Couldn't it be like a camouflage thing, like a ghillie suit?
Yeah. What if it's because of the okay? So you have to understand. So this is along the Mississippi River-y kind of area, right?
No, I get that.
It's a little bit swampy. It's a little bit dirty. So you would imagine that maybe you would want mosquitoes, this protective layer outside of you. So who's not to say that maybe it matted it itself and made itself this armor to protect itself in the area. I think that Bobby's definitely onto something when we're talking about if we're thinking about it in the way of just again take bears out of your mind until the end. But for the big
bears out of my mind,
could it not be just an evolutionary thing to adapt to the area it lives in?
No, because there's only one animal in the entire animal kingdom that you
know of.
All right, hold on.
There's only one animal that exists in the entire animal kingdom that has such a horrible adaptation to its environment.
The human
fur, not us. We do, but I'm not talking about us. I'm talking about the sloth. Because it grows moss and mold and everything else on its fur, and it doesn't do anything about it because it doesn't really have any
effect or adverse. Yeah, it doesn't matter.
Yeah,
so it's like, let it be.
I think that they're proof that angels exist.
Only they let them exist.
So unbothered.
Explain yourself. Wait, what do you mean that angels exist?
Just to let the sloth exist.
They're beautiful, angelic, wonderful
creatures.
I got you.
I didn't know if maybe a sloth angel came down to you and saved you or something, and that's
just that's how I feel about sharks.
Sloth one day you'll be graced with the light of heaven, just staring at those things.
Sharks and alligators
three toes,
are the same thing, just like so.
Not to turn it back, but all I was asking is why would we default to assume that long shaggy hair is a disadvantage, though? Like,
because there's no modern animal that has long shaggy hair.
I think that it's a disadvantage because when
I guess it would weigh you down.
When the fur mats, it pulls on the skin, And so, like, on it, and I'm only saying this because of my old Pekingese, who looked like a tiny gorilla. We called her the mushroom monster. She would get little like mats like that, and it would pull on the skin, and it like
irritate
the skin. I don't know.
All right.
But
well,
again,
I'm on Team Jamie.
If you're not adapted for it, then
not unless not unless there's a defensive reason for that thick of a hair. Like if you're going up against either your own species or a predatory species where you need to have hair that thick to protect against claws and bites, like male lions have the manes because it protects against
their neck area.
Yeah, the claws and everything like that. There's like no animals that grow excessive hair because it will just create a heat sink.
Unless it's a Bigfoot.
Or a black bear.
Oh my god.
Oh, so black bears do
anyway,
no, they're just misidentified.
Is in Louisiana, Missouri. Yes, Louisiana is a city in Missouri, and
it's a city.
Also in Illinois, it is that entire area where the river is.
It's on both sides.
Yeah, can I ask you guys this? Are we just jumping to the conclusion that these phenomenons always seem to happen around water? Is that just because living things need to be near water and that's where people settle? Or do you think there's something more like metaphysical there?
So I think that it's both. I think that you have metaphysical because I think water is very unique. It's not like we see it everywhere in the universe. And so I think that that's part of it. But I think the second thing is if we're going to go down the alley of more earthly explanations of things, watering holes are where animals gather. So of course you're going to have a lot of sightings around watering holes.
And civilization's going to be around water.
Exactly.
That'll provide the people that will see these things.
That's what I'm saying. To counter that, you wouldn't want to be in a high area where everyone is going to see you and they're like bringing in their boats for the day and you're over there just trying to get a fish. I don't know.
Sometimes they have to adapt to the area though. Like, what if there's not a water source that wasn't not populated? So now they're forced to be in a populated area.
You can't tell me the face of this doesn't look like Roxy.
A little bit, yeah.
Just the face. Dog? It looks literally just like Roxy. That was the Pekingese. All right.
So
on to our first.
Starting off with our first stop here, and this is June 1971. And I will say this specific creature is really limited to 1971 to 1972. We don't have too many real verified sightings of it outside of this time period. So this is really a capsule of an area. So two women, Joan Mills and Mary Ryans, stopped for a picnic off the Highway 79 north of the town of Louisiana, where they said they saw and smelled a half ape, half man emerging from the weeds. It gurgled and disappeared into the woods, but not before grabbing and wolfing down a peanut butter sandwich.
That's a pretty tough pill to swallow.
It made me think of a Wookiee, like a
exactly. And then interesting for the peanut butter sandwich and to run off. Now, one thing I will say is it never specified if it was on fours or if it was standing up. And so that was an interesting detail that I thought that I couldn't find anything that said specifically how it ran away or anything like that. Because so far, like a monkey man, I'm just getting like a monkey man. I don't know if it's anything crazy.
Well, what iconic pop culture character is known for stealing food from picnic baskets?
A bear!
Tony.
Oh no!
Well, he's a grizzly bear.
Reminds me of the Zodiac killer.
Oh, a little bit, yeah.
What?
Yogi's a grizzly?
Yogi's a grizzly. He's brown.
But he's so nice, and he has a little hat and tie on.
Yeah, but he's a dick.
Yogi, like from Mario?
I mean, I'm just saying.
Yogi Bear and Boo Boo Bear.
That's Yoshi.
Oh,
yeah.
I'm not saying this isn't a Momo. I'm just saying that's a very uniquely bear action.
I agree with you on this one.
It's one of the things that bear, like when you go out into the woods, you're like, I'll put the food away because it's going to steal from my shit.
Yeah, but you would see if it's that close to getting a peanut butter sandwich. I think you would see that.
You would notice it. Yeah.
Yeah, I would be very curious to like, how did they react as it was approaching to steal the peanut butter sandwich?
They ran to the car to drive away. That's what they started running away once it ran towards them.
So
Gotcha.
yeah, we're gonna once we get to my explanation for this, I'm gonna talk about exactly why it's a fucking black bear.
Oh, a little teaser from the fucking buzzkill Tony over there.
All right, let's get to the next
Fucking-
story. So the
Yeah.
next
fucking
story
black bear
happened.
Tony.
Although, wait, can I just
ooh.
throw in really quick that
Yeah.
people, especially back in this day, I think that people would revert to what they know rather than what they don't. I think
Yes.
and
Racism.
maybe in this maybe in this day and age, if we had something, our minds might go crazy because we know about all these other cryptids and these weird phenomena that happened. But back in the very early 70s, especially because people don't want to come out and say crazy shit to their neighbors, I think people are going to revert to what they see and what they know opposed to saying what they don't. So
I agree with you on that one.
So it wasn't a fucking bear.
Or
Anyway,
if they even say anything at all.
Exactly.
Yeah. So this was almost exactly a year later. There were two men from Troy who were out in a secluded area of the Curvy River. The two men were named Tim and Vaughn, and they'd spent the day fishing on a high bank that overlooked a lower bank on the opposite side of the river. As Vaughn stood to take a break, the two noticed an awful smell in the air. Vaughn looked around and saw what he thought was a naked, hairy hippie walking along the opposite side of the river. Vaughn hollered at Tim to look at the hippie, who he figured must have been on some wacky tobacco. Tim jumped up and looked, but he knew it wasn't a hippie. The creature was much taller than a normal man and covered with hair all over. And it also looked as if the head sat right on top of its shoulders. Both men tried to come down the bank to get a better look, but the creature turned and charged right for them, causing the man to panic and flee for their lives.
So June 30th, 1972, to go back to what you were saying about how you're just going to fill in the blanks with what they know. Like this guy's first assumption was that's a 7 foot tall,
smelly hippie,
completely covered in hair.
Mm-hmm.
Like
yeah.
that like checks a lot of boxes,
mm-hmm.
but that is interesting that the voice of sobriety of his buddy was just like that ain't no fucking fan of new riders on the Purple Sage. That's not Jerry Garcia over there.
No, absolutely not.
That's Momo.
But you're 100% correct. It goes back to what Bree's saying. It's about when you first see something, you just try to rationalize it, and the first thing you think of what you're familiar with is what you're calling out.
I love that you said wacky tobacco.
Your brain goes through your brain goes through its Rolodex and just tries to fucking figure out what it is you're looking at. And
what the fuck is that?
A giant stinky hippie.
Definitely see.
I mean, it's the 70s, so yeah, a giant stinky hippie.
Giant, this guy
worthless hippie walking down the river, because that's exactly what they would be doing. They're not going to work.
Not in the 70s.
Next, we have the most famous sighting, the ones that all of them are about, and Bobby's going to read this one.
Yeah, so this is like, I guess more or less what I call the dam breaking stuff of these phenomenons. This one seems to be the one that got a whole lot of traction, and everyone always references it. This is the Harrison account. So this is 1972, summer 1972. Terry Harrison and his brother Wally, 8 and 5 years old, outside playing in their backyard on the foot of Marzolf Hill, which is a hot spot for the Momo, just in general, I might add. Again, outskirts of Louisiana, Missouri. They're just playing in the yard as kids do, and all of a sudden, to their chagrin and horrifiedness, there's a huge black hairy man-like creature standing by a tree with giant hands clutching the bloody corpse of a dog. And to corroborate, we have Doris, their sister. I actually saw it while inside, outside of a bathroom window. So again, just to add more horrifying to already horrifying, a dead dog in its arms. And you will hear, I gotta throw that to the Bigfoot theory. You will hear about that relatively often, that Bigfoots are seen carrying dogs or killing dogs, or dogs go missing, things like that. And then again, this is one of those pumpkinhead sightings descriptions. And according to the docudrama Momo, the small town monsters one. They freaked out. They called their dad, who was at work at a local restaurant. He came home and checked it out. It's just like one of those things where it's like they saw something. I don't know what it was, but they saw something. But I just think it's really interesting how we see the pumpkin head motif here, and we also see the bright glowing orange eyes.
Which, and if you go to the next slide, Bree, there's actually some news articles that were printed in actual photos of the kids and the dad, and they actually got cast prints. Can you read this for us?
So I was gonna say what? Oh,
can you read this for us off the screen?
Yeah,
this is what the caption of the photo is from the newspaper.
It was.
Okay. Edgar Harrison of Louisiana, Missouri, his son Terry and his daughter Doris examine plaster casts of footprints Harrison thinks belongs to the elusive creature reported in the area. Doris said she spotted the tall, shaggy creature behind the family home. Louisiana Police Police Chief Shelby Ward said 2 types of mysterious prints have been found. One 10 inches long and 5 inches wide. The other was 5 inches long and curved in the middle with 3 toe prints. So I was going to say that after all of that happened, the family was well known for being like a part of the church. They were very religious. It was true that days after that sighting, they were all out there doing a prayer circle, and they were swarmed with a bunch of strange lights in the sky. And that is tied into the small town monsters thing, but that is a true story that really did happen. There were a bunch of UFOs that popped up after they did their prayer circle.
Weird.
And
angels.
This, like Bobby had mentioned, that this was kind of like the straw that broke the camel's back when it comes to Momo even just being relevant in the news cycle, was definitely this case. And Shelby Ward got together 30 people to go out there and go up Marzolf Hill. And there were so many reporters and like international broadcasters that they called it off because he thought that they would, like, someone's going to end up shooting somebody else by accident, dumbass or something. And then it wasn't until shortly after that there was a what's his name, Harrison, I wrote it down, Hayden Hughes, who is a part of a international UFO group, went out with them and with Edgar Harrison and a bunch of other people to try to find him, like, without letting everyone else in the news cycle go. And that's how they came across these prints.
The prints, yep.
But yeah, is this the like posse they got together to go hunt it down? I read
this was after the posse. This was after the posse, because the first posse, it was just so. I mean, first he gathered 30 people of the entire town. That's already a huge group. I mean, imagine a bunch of, like, I don't know if hillbillies is the right word to say, but that's what comes to mind.
Yeah, I mean, posse
like hillbillies with like pitchforks and
posse
like
is a uniquely Missouri thing. You have
going
Momo
up there.
Posses. I'm sure there's a lot of insane clown posse people in Missouri. I'm just guessing.
Exactly.
With Fago running around and
whoop whoop.
Yeah.
Much motherfucking wicked clown love.
Apparently, they submitted this to a zoo, to the Oklahoma City Zoo, and then they said it was a hoax. But
yeah, they were like, yeah, we don't buy it. We don't believe it.
Nobody knows. And then also in that same documentary of the small town monsters, there's a woman in there who claims that she made that single footprint cast herself. She did like one and completely did it herself, and they called someone in and verified that it was for sure by an animal, but that she was the one that did it.
So she was like testing their.
She said she was like a kid at the time, so she said she just did it, and she was just like gonna freak her parents out. And then
the scientists were like, "It's definitely a print from a legitimate animal."
Which I don't buy. I'm just like, you're just trying to.
You're
trying to fluff it.
That's what I'm thinking.
We're going into the next month. This is July.
Tony's
got this one.
Oh yeah, here we go. July, my favorite month of the year.
Ooh.
1972, not my favorite year. It was. I don't know why I said that, but
It's a vibe.
it was July of 1972 when the next report comes from a man and woman of West Virginia, where there's no black bears, who were passing through Missouri, where there
I'm
are
going to point that out.
also not black bears. They had stopped at the Logan Conservation Area. I don't know where this is, and I've probably been through
Which
here.
is known for its black bears.
It
Stop.
might be.
Maybe
In
just the Black Bear
northern-
Diner.
You know what? I might open up a restaurant called that. But
Black Bear Diner's already real.
Already a
But you hate bears.
Yeah, I
That's
do.
why I said
But
that. Okay.
just embrace the suck. So they stopped at the Logan
That's what he said.
Conservation Area in northern Lincoln County to stretch their legs. When they left their vehicle, they smelled something that smelled like an entire family of skunks or hippies.
Mm.
Could have been
Or hip-
smoking the ganja around the corner, right?
Oh Lord.
Yeah, weed
When-
was like way skunkier back then.
Oh,
For
yes,
sure.
it was. Oh,
Like
Flushed
now
way
it's like
back.
it just sends you to the moon and smells like pine trees. Back then it does like that swag from like when you're in high school. Not only did it smell like
that's
it in
why
the
we
sack,
used to-
it smelled like skunk like when you
Bring it
smoked it.
out.
When
That's
you
why we
smoked it
used
out
to
of a
call it,
Dr.
like-
Pepper can with holes punched in it.
Yeah, we used to call it skunk weed. Like it was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You used to
Lucky
wrap your
enough.
stack with one of those fabric softeners so your mom wouldn't find it.
Yeah,
Lucky enough to be in
That's what we
California
did.
and not have to smoke dirt weed.
we
It's
call
true.
it.
I
the
smoked
weed.
No one-
sandweed.
I would just decide not to smoke weed if it was not good. You know what I mean?
All right,
Smelled
finish,
a
Tony.
skunk.
What happens next?
So when they looked around and saw him, he who is they, standing there, his big pumpkin head and glowing candle eyes, let them know who he was, he who is they. He was nearly 7 feet tall, like a black bear, and had to weigh 400 pounds. Okay, like a black bear, and
Alright.
ran for them, and they ran straight for their car. So they're like, "Oh my god, this big giant scary shadow creature is running at us that doesn't totally look like a black bear." For them, and they ran straight for their car. They barely made it inside when he reached it and shook their car with his big stupid ass and tormented them for 30 minutes before finally getting bored and disappearing back into the woods from which he had came.
Mm.
That's not what's happened.
Oh, because I have something to show everybody. Because this is what a black bear.
Can you wait until your segment? We don't need to see that.
This is my segment.
You're
But it's
ruining
not-
it.
No, it's not your time for that. It's not time for that.
You're ruining the Momo legend.
Nah, no.
Bullshit.
Wait until we get to the bear section. We have one more story before we
All
get
right.
I
going.
love that.
All
Ruining the
right.
Momo moment.
All right, Bree.
Can we get a
Give us-
can we
give us
get
the
an
final
overlay
sighting.
that says wait till we get to the bear section?
Yes, for real.
Okay. Our next sighting instance here in July of 1972 was of Richard Allen Murray, who was a lifetime local, and he served as the town's fire chief. He also sat in city council. He reported that when he was driving near Louisiana's Town Branch, which is basically the small creek that runs through the middle of the town, around 11 a.m., he passed a small hill and noticed something moving in the corner of his eye. He turned his truck towards the hill with his headlights hitting a very strange upright figure that was covered in brown hair. He guessed that the creature was about 20 feet away. And when it realized that he was there, obviously from the headlights shining at him, the creature quickly ran away, scurried into the brush, and disappeared. But he said that not before long that the news media picked it up and was attracting a lot of monster hunters to the area. And at one point, this is our second posse now, there was a 20-person posse that was put together to kill this beast. But again, the creature was never found. Second monster hunt. No creature found.
Shame.
Who was it that said, I can't remember who it was, but there was someone that came out and was sorry, I'm speaking out loud. There was someone
obviously
in that area that when I believe it was after the second posse had started, who came out and was like, if this is an animal that we don't know, it's unlawful to shoot, to be hunting it. Right. So it was basically like a stop to all pitchfork posses.
Is it?
Yeah. And this is the last time that we have any talk about it. There was lots of news articles, more people who went there to go look at it, but we don't have any really people coming out being like, oh my God, I saw Momo in this area. This is the last time in July of 1972. And the run of it has finally come to an end.
Well, yes and no, I would say in the big news things, of course, nowadays.
Well, yeah, there's like locals, of course.
I've read probably like 50 different stories. But the thing about that is we're in a different time now. We're in a time where people can either, I think people more easily jump to conclusions of what they have seen. And also people just kind of want to be included into the story. So who's to say if it's a verified case, even if these are verified cases, but there are local people that still, I think, try to keep the story alive. Maybe they're in the town and see that it's dying, because I will say the town really has not
capitalized on it.
Yeah, I mean, there was like a little bit of like a Momo, I think, like a street fair, and then they had like Momo's burgers and things, but they never like opened up a store. They didn't do the full on
Cryptid thing,
like Roswell or
which I think like lends credibility to it, because it's like prime for exactly that, right? Like
specific to that area.
I believe that there was at one time, if not still currently, there's like a Momo festival still, but we'll get into all that cultural stuff in a minute. But I'm just saying, like, you're right. It's a really good point. Like, it seems to be only hyper, known about of this certain region. It doesn't seem particularly, I don't think everyone in Missouri knows about the Momo,
Momo, I have a feeling like it's just different than other areas where they want to find that one cool thing and then bring in tourism. It almost seems like the old town folk, like, could they be embarrassed of the story somehow?
No, I think that they're genuinely afraid of it. They don't want people to come there and then it to come back and be like, wreak more havoc. I think they want people to not come there because they don't want to draw attention to it.
That sounds like a great movie. The people come because no one's talking about it, and they're like, because we don't want it to come back. And then the stupid kids come in with their documentary filmmaker attitude, and they bring it back, and they're like, this is why we didn't talk about it. And it brings,
exactly.
Kids.
Creepy.
All right. Speaking of movies, let's get into the pop culture. Oh, wait, before one more slide. These are, again, were just more articles. I just wanted to show you guys. There was tons of articles. You could literally go back and read tons of them. There was so many in this small town for something that only happened over a small period of time.
Yeah.
This is such a good little
next to
and kind of like I
reveal.
alluded to just a second ago. Hold on, I gotta find you guys again. I was doing something. Go ahead, Bree. Sorry.
I wasn't doing anything.
Oh, okay.
Here we go.
Yeah.
Bam.
So, like I said, this seems to be hyper-specific lore to the region, but that doesn't mean that it doesn't have its place within Missouri history, I guess.
Yeah.
Probably like the quintessential documentary on this is, we've already mentioned it, is the Lyle Blackburn, Seth Breedlove, Small Town Monsters one called Momo, the one up in the top left. I think it's just called Momo the Missouri Monster. And then his book as well is very good. It's kind of a good overview. My copy is signed, by the way, by Lyle Blackburn.
What?
Yeah. But you have that. You have things like a ride at Six Flags that was in, I believe, St. Louis. The one in St. Louis. It only lasted into the 90s, though. It started at like the Momo.
Sucks.
The Missouri Monster, the Momo Monster. What was? Oh, I should know this. Oh, Momo the Monster was what it was called. You can see it there, the Six Flags one, and it only lasted. It closed in 1994. It was open in the early 70s, and it was replaced by a swing ride called Riverview Racer, which is way more lame than Momo the Monster.
Yeah, but that ride told me that doesn't look like an octopus arms. Like they didn't even try to make it cool.
I think they just try to
the ride spun around in one direction, and the buckets would sway back and forth, and then halfway through the ride, it would stop and go the opposite direction. So it was kind of like the quintessential,
like a roller coaster,
like
and then stop, and then and then you were done.
Oh.
Kind of like a black bear as it's like playing with
throwing
its
you
prey.
around. Exactly.
I think Disney should capitalize this and make this a dope ass roller coaster. And then like in Disneyland, when you go through the Incredicoasters ride, there's a part when you're going up and they have the smell of fresh cookies because like the baby eats the cookies, but they could have it smell like straight ass. So like right before you go through, you'd be like, "Rah!" And then it just smells like rancid, flesh-eating diseases, and then you go through a loop or something. That sounds like
a really fun ride.
Yeah,
that's what I'm saying.
And then try to sell the cookies at the end, right?
All right, can we go to the next slide, please?
No.
We also have other, and I want to say, I don't know, I might just be speaking out of turn here and assuming things as I often do. But I feel like that Seth Breedlove documentary with Lyle Blackburn that came out a few years ago has really breathed a lot of life into the Momo. Like I had honestly had never heard of it until that.
Yeah.
And again, it's hyper specific to the area. You got a indoor football league. I believe they ended in 2013 called the Missouri Monsters. Even though it's a Cyclops, they still extrapolate that like Missouri Monster. It's got such a great, crackle to it. And then you got local beers, local breweries doing the Momo. There was a local guy named Bill White who put out a record in the 70s, kind of a novelty like Dr. Demento, Weird Al Yankovic, radio drive time zoo crew type song. I looked all over the internet for it for exactly 3 minutes and I couldn't find it pretty much immediately. So we're not going to be able to hear it. And then this is my own personal thing. It reminds me of Man-Thing, Marvel's Man-Thing, which was Marvel's answer to the Swamp Thing, even though I think that Swamp Thing or Man-Thing came before Swamp Thing, if I'm not mistaken. But it's got Man-Thing vibes to me, which was my name in prison.
Did you see... So, Bobby, did you see the movie from like 7 or 8 years ago, the Man-Thing movie?
No, there was a Man-Thing movie.
Oh yes, sir.
Was it a big Man Thing? Because I
like Marvel's Man-Thing.
It's a Marvel's Man-Thing. It came out shortly after Iron Man came out, and there's some amazing full frontal nudity in that.
Interesting.
Like,
see, I'm tired of like typical MCU plug and chug, formulaic Marvel movies. But I like when they do weird ones. So
it's it's good. And there's some very great 14 seconds of amazing visualization before Man Thing shows up.
Man Thing. What the?
It's usually how it's usually about 14 seconds before Man Thing shows up.
17%.
Leaves.
That's all you get,
2005
14
sound
seconds,
right?
and Man Thing
Or somewhere
shows up
around
and
there.
leaves.
17% on the tomato meter, 14%
Ooh.
audience score. I'm definitely
That's
gonna
the
watch
one.
this.
Yeah,
That's
for
the one.
sure.
That's gotta be it.
That's
That's
it.
gotta be it.
Is that the Missouri Monster that
No,
episode
but-
dropped
No.
in? Oh, that's
No, so
this is
also
the song. Yeah.
hot take.
Oh, you
if
found it.
you watch the first episode of Stargate SG-1,
Nerd.
the
I actually liked it.
series
Oh, the
on
series.
I think
Ooh.
on Amazon,
Oh,
there
I think
is
I watched
about
it.
4 minutes of full frontal nudity, and you're just like,
Oh.
what the fuck is going on? This was a TV show.
Wow.
Sounds worth watching, to be honest.
Different
It
time.
is. It was 1994. I mean, who cared?
Nice. Who care? I will
was a
say
good
one thing
year.
I've noticed about most of the cryptids that we cover is that there is some type of craft beer named after the cryptid,
Yeah.
Why
and
wouldn't
then
there
a local band that writes a song.
Yeah.
Oh,
we'll have
or a sport,
I
like a
need
minor
to
league
do-
sports team.
Yeah, sports team. Yeah.
I just
Or-
want to do a tour to cryptids where I can try all of the different beers that we've
Oh,
all the different cryptids
I
that
like
we've
that.
covered, because there's so many. How
Mhm.
fun would that be? Oh, okay. And then
Wanna
we'll
drink
listen
all
to
the
the
cryptid
song.
booze.
Yeah, the Cryptid Booze Cruise.
I don't know. I think it would. That cruise would consist of just the 4 of us, which I'm fine with.
Yeah.
We
All
had
right,
a great time.
Bobby,
No
is it
shitting.
just Bigfoot?
It's very tempting. It's a very
No.
tempting Bigfoot of the Gap theory. But I think that, look, Missouri's ranked number 9 highest state for Bigfoot sightings. So we have, if you want to call them confirmed Bigfoot sightings in Missouri, not specifically Momo. That adds a lot to this. But I think that if this is a Bigfoot, it is the ones that are akin to the more paranormal, alien connected ones, maybe some interdimensionality. You know, you got the big orange glowing eyes, all that stuff. So I don't know if this is a Bigfoot of the Gap. I would say it is paranormal Bigfoot of the Gap. And I wouldn't say all Bigfoots in Missouri are paranormal.
I need to make a quick comment here.
Yeah.
I see that there is a Texas, Missouri, and I'm so bothered by that.
Yeah,
Can we
Missouri
not
obviously just ran out of
name-
names, and they were like,
like-
we're just gonna name towns after states.
It's so irritating
Lazy.
to me.
Missouri
Like, I
existed
get
lazy.
before
so
Texas.
Missouri's lazy in their city names.
For real. They're probably a
Texas-
Texas,
Lebanon.
in
California,
they're in
Missouri.
Missouri.
Yeah, they are. I am in Missouri.
I mean, shit.
All right, so
Hey,
give Tony
I have
his
a
moment
question.
of time. Yes.
I still
I
have
added
a moment.
real quick housekeeping. I added a slide while we were on this. Is it going to show up?
I don't know. Maybe.
Yeah.
I'm a boomer. I don't know about that stuff.
Let's see. Where is it?
Ew, I dated someone with that.
Oh, don't
last name.
go
Gross.
to it.
I'm almost a boomer.
Why?
Is it my turn or is it Bobby's?
We're ready to go to the
boomer
next one.
slide?
Can I
No.
go to the next slide?
Yes, please. Yes.
No, I'm last, and that one's last.
Oh, this is me.
Yeah, this is great.
Aha. Okay. So there was a few things actually. One, the Trail of Tears State Park is over there. Sketchy. We already know when there is a lot of native turmoil.
What a
Especially the
terrible
native.
name for a park.
Because especially the native, we all know when it comes to the natives, the Trail of Tears is the saddest of them all.
Mhm.
And boom, right there, all kinds of energy stacked up, and it's just game over. Paranormal station. And then there's also Cape Girardeau. If I could go back. So this is that hot spot right here. Cape Girardeau is right here. It's about 3 hours south driving. But Cape Girardeau is, if you are a UFO nut like us, then you would know that that is the very first UFO crash that we've had in the States. It was not indeed Roswell. It was in Cape Girardeau, 1941. Very interesting story with the firefighter. They had the priest come. They buried the poor being. He like, you'll be okay. It's a whole story, but Cape Girardeau was like huge. So I just think it's interesting that you have possibly our very first UFO. I mean, I just imagine if this was like if Roswell was 3 hours from here, people would be like, "Wow." People don't really know a lot about Cape Girardeau unless they're like deep into the history of it all. And so to me, I was like, "Oh shit, this is like there's got to be a huge UFO connection." And then hearing about the fact that the Harrisons, after they saw Momo and the dog carrying that poor dog. Whose Toto is that anyway? No one even knows whose dog.
No one ever claimed it. Yeah.
No one ever claimed it. How sad. But the fact that they were then visited by a bunch of UFOs. And then later in the year, there was another weird sighting of a bunch of unexplained lights. And then adjacent to Cape Girardeau is Piedmont. Where the fuck is that? I can't see it. Piedmont's somewhere over here. Anyway, Piedmont's an hour west. Yes, it's an hour west. And that is what is considered a UFO hotspot of Missouri. And interestingly enough, 8 days ago, just 8 days ago, Fox News reported that the state representative, Chris Dinkins, introduced a bill to claim Piedmont as the Missouri UFO state capital.
What?
That is because of all of the UFO sightings that were also in the same time span, the early 70s, when the Momo was very popular. Because you also remember the Pascagoula.
Pasquilla.
No, I think it's Pascagoula.
Pasquilla.
Sighting with
Pasquilla.
Calvin and you know what I'm talking about. The
Yeah.
Pascagoula
Yep.
abductions.
Yeah.
That was in the same time frame. And then there was another 100 plus reports just in that town, same time frame, early 70s, like 70 to 74, and has carried on since then. So if the bill is passed, Piedmont could get this title as early as August, like this year, like in a few months. So I thought that was really interesting that was just introduced literally 8 days ago, and we're talking about this today.
Wild.
So obviously, there is this very heavy UFO connection. Of course, ghosts and all of that, but you know, again, it's like we talk about UFOs and these weird cryptid sightings. Are they together? Do they have a connection? I think it's interesting that one of the heights of UFO sightings was precisely in the same time frame as the height of the Momo.
Mm.
Food for
Wild.
thought.
Yeah, I just feel like we have these like super extra weird couple of years sometimes.
Right.
Mhm.
I don't know.
Yep, these bursts. All right, is it finally Tony's turn?
Thank God.
Oh my God, Enzo. We're going to have to start paying you. I don't even know. Look, at Enzo pulled it up that we talked about Cape Girardeau in our Secret Space Program series, part 4.
Love it. Thank you, Enzo. You are literally the best. All right, Tony?
All I have to do is just share this other thing I found that I hate because
You look so good in a uniform.
Oh, you do.
I do. Wait. There's your fucking Momo.
Actually, like a long-haired version, yeah.
If it was long hair,
that ain't no pumpkin head.
but no.
If it
That
had
is a
long hair.
pumpkin head. That is a big fat.
That's a
bitch.
fucking bear head.
Did they ever talk about
Did they ever
ears?
talk about what? No, because they're big-headed fucks. Look at
notice
them.
how all of the black bears have very short fur. So the average hair, I'm gonna guess. I'm just guessing here. It's maybe like 2.5 inches long at its longest point. So it can in no way, shape, or form be the Momo.
Yeah,
You
but
have a very
do you know
clear
how
view of the
unreliable?
ears
Do you know
and
how
the face.
unreliable
Testimony is?
hysterical testimonies are?
Hysterical. Don't be using the H word to a woman.
Yeah, that's offensive to women.
I'll do it every day to both.
It is? Oh, I gotta use that.
No, we're joking.
But so, like, if you run into something in the woods, that you're not expecting, you are going to over exaggerate every single part of it, especially if it's
You're gonna put some Jamie sauce on it. Yeah.
Especially a big, scary, predatory animal, because that bear, black bears.
His nose was so long it had a point, but the face is so clean. If I were to go with your explanation of them like exaggerating what you see, when you look at a black bear like this, the points that would be exaggerated are not the points that these eyewitnesses are claiming.
I'll give you that one, Bree. None of
the ears. It wouldn't. Yeah,
none of the witnesses were describing bears at all.
It's just like long hair.
Yeah.
You got little
Tony.
orange eyes.
They were all
none of that.
They were all.
Of that is even
yes,
close.
they were.
It's not even close, Tony.
It's exactly close. So many of the stories are of the animal running away. Black bears are the biggest pussies of the bear world. They will run away. You can run up on them and go, rah, 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 and they will just run away. Even if it weighs 2 or 3 times more than you, because black bears are not in like a keystone predator. Because black bears have to compete with grizzly bears. So, like, anything that threatens them and that is stupid enough to run up on them and scream at them, they will run away, even if they are the bigger animal.
But that sounds just like me. But yet, if you saw me, you wouldn't be like, oh, she has like these big dreads and these orange glowing eyes. Like,
no, because
you do not know how someone else is going to describe you.
I didn't run into you in the middle of the night in the woods unexpectedly.
I saw this giant goat. Also, just for food for thought here, none of these instances were in the middle of the night where people could not see. They could clearly see the animal. It didn't look anything like a black bear. If we were to just look at the characteristics visually,
it's a black
think
bear.
It's here for, it does not match anything close to what the eyewitnesses saw, nor could I see how it could be exaggerated to fit that criteria.
What if it's a really dirty black bear? It's a naughty black bear.
The way it could easily be construed as being a black bear, this is the only animal that fits this description, is because of its size, its weight. If you're walking out in the woods, it doesn't matter what time of day or night it is. If you see something bigger than you just trouncing through the woods, you're going to be like, oh, fuck, what the fuck is that? And then your mind is going to start
saying it's a
bear. Details to it that aren't actually there. It's a fucking black bear.
In this circumstance, I'm gonna give it a hard no, Tony. I'm surprised that you also don't agree.
Tony. That's ridiculous.
The eyes are not even close. The hair, yes, black, brown, and in some cases also an auburn. Like we do see with other Bigfoot-esque.
I've never seen a black bear with nappy dreads and glowing orange eyes.
No, so I base this off of the first time I ever saw an alligator in real life in the wild.
What?
So I was
Yeah, explain yourself.
So I'm gonna explain it. Yep. So I was out on a pier. And I was looking out, and I looked down, and there was a 9-foot alligator right below me on the pier.
There's a lot
And it
happening.
hits differently when you're not in a zoo and you're not in a controlled environment, and that animal just rises up to the surface and starts looking at you, because now you're not in a one-way road.
What?
Okay.
I don't think any of us.
We're all like,
Tony, what in God's name what are you talking about?
you make
Is it-
more sense when you're drunk. Why did we tell Tony to stop drinking? Tony,
Okay.
you can go
Tony's been
back. You
drinking.
can go back to the booze, please.
Okay,
And
listen.
I can follow.
I'm gonna
It's a
focus. I'm
lot-
gonna really focus.
Yeah, try again, please.
It's a lot different when you are facing an animal on their territory versus when you are at a zoo or anything else like that. So when you're in the wild, like I saw that first wild alligator and it was bigger than I was, and it came up to the surface and just stared at me, and I was like, oh, so I guess I'm not in control.
God, I love
So
alligators.
you lose when you experience it in person, you lose that sense of control. And it changes the entire, narrative of what's going to happen. And it's the same way if you're in the woods and there's a bear that's a foot taller than I am, which is like 3 foot taller than Bree. That's a huge fucking animal.
I mean,
Yeah.
by that
Alright,
logic,
I'm
are you
short.
saying like any Bigfoot
Question.
sighting is probably a bear then?
That's
No,
what
I'm
I'm
talking
saying,
the
like, the fuck?
Momo's a fucking bear.
I was
A
like,
lot
okay,
of-
so Tony, why don't you start off then with the factor of sci-fi and give us, since we already know your answer, just go ahead and give it to us now.
it's a one sci-fi. It's a fucking black bear.
There it is.
Wow.
There it is. Go ahead, Bree.
Question.
What a
Um,
Benedict Arnold.
So, just curious, why do you think that these people that early 70s, remember time frame, don't want to talk about things? They are in the area where maybe they do see bears, but they definitely hunt. They're
Yep.
folk people.
Why
Why
I'll
do
give
you
you that
think-
answer. Yeah,
Why do
I
you
have
think that
answer.
they would jump to something that they've never seen before, opposed to things that they have seen before, especially when some of the people have seen bears and can describe, like, compare and contrast to bears? Why do you think
Sure.
they jumped and added extra things that don't look anything like a black bear and couldn't even be exaggerated as being a black bear? Why do you think they just made that up?
Okay, so I'll tell you the number one reason for that is because the authorities won't say that it is that animal. And what I mean by that is where I live, the DNR has stopped reporting on cougar sightings because there's too many of them, but they won't acknowledge the fact that cougars have been reintroduced and moved their way in secured territory.
But
But
Bree's not
Tony, this
talking.
is
Bree's not
early
Yeah,
talking
but I'm
about-
getting
70s.
there. I'm getting there. And that's where, in that area, black bears are not the most. That's not what you expect to see. You expect to see like bobcats, maybe coyotes, maybe a wolf or something like that. You introduce a black bear into that area, something that people have been hunting for years and clearing out of the area so their cattle and their farm animals aren't at threat for that. And then suddenly they show back up in the 70s. And this is what we're seeing when these laws went into effect where you can't hunt these animals in these places. And then a decade or 2 decades later, these animals started coming back. And the DNR was like, no, you're fine. Don't shoot these animals.
Okay, so basically what you're saying, Tony, at the end of the day is everyone who had an encounter with the Momo was just lying about what it is that they saw.
Maybe not everybody, but
I mean that's
most
what
of
you're
it is
alleging though,
probably a
because
blackout.
what Bree is trying to say to you is that none of these people, none of these witnesses are describing a bear at all. None of the characteristics are like a bear, to the hair, to the face shape. They're not talking about ears. They're not talking about snouts. None of those things.
No,
So
the one with
she's
the hair.
posing. So she's posing to you the question of why is it then? Are you saying that it's 100% bears when not one person described a bear? Why would these people possibly describe something other than a bear if it wasn't if it was not a bear?
Panic.
So is it that they're lying because they want?
No, I don't think
they want the government to investigate it, so they're making things up and elaborating on things so that it doesn't sound like a bear, so people are taking it more seriously. Because what you're saying is we get that you say it's a bear, but you're not giving any other facts to us outside of other than you just think it's a bear, because none of the evidence at all points to a bear in any direction.
No, so
or like why would the police chief or the fire department person, like why would they also go along with that?
Exactly.
Well, I think the only incidents where it cannot be ruled as a bear is like the long-haired.
But that was every single account. Every count was a big man, long hair, horrible smell, pumpkin head. Yeah, that was
7
consistent.
feet tall.
7 feet tall through all of them.
Have big, giant, dumb heads. Like
again, but you're not. But I Tony, I get what you're saying. Logically, the only thing in that area that makes sense is a bear. I get what you're saying, but unfortunately, the facts that have been put in front of us tonight, there is not one person who describes anything that looks remotely like a bear. Period. End of story. Not one person saying
what is
crawling.
The fauna that can compete with that bear for it to have the resources to still be alive?
That has absolutely nothing to do with what people are looking at. I get what you say, Tony. You're coming at it from a logical sense,
Tony,
and
so
I respect your answer. You're facting it as a bear, but like, and we get that. But I get where you're going, but unfortunately, none of the evidence points to a bear at all. Unfortunately, other than the fact that bears look like it. Yeah, Tony, get fucked. I mean, no, but like I went into this thinking this was a bear as well, and I was on the bear route. But then the more and more you look at the descriptions that these people are giving, they are not describing a bear in any capacity. To me, it more sounds like they're describing a large cat. I could see a large cat being mistaken for something, like with longer hair and the glowing eyes and more of a round head. That would make sense, but there's not any large cats in that area that fit those kinds of description. Exactly. So like I could see like if there was something, a big black panther in the area, then like, oh, okay, maybe they're seeing something slightly different and that could make sense. But unfortunately to me, I'm going to have to middle bitch this one because I don't know what's going on. I'm going to lean more towards the fact that I think that this is actually like more of a Bigfoot creature that's out there. Like this could be.
I love how we turned your factor or sci-fi into an argument.
Yeah, always. That's like what it is.
That's what it's there for.
Yeah. And so I'm personally middle bitching it because I can't see the dots that Tony is connecting. That evidence is just not supported in this case for me. What about you, baby?
Oh, I'm hard fact. I got to balance out Tony's horse shit. And secondly,
Tony's horse shit indeed.
Secondly, it's just I think that we talk about how this was a highly concentrated in one area in one specific amount of time. What that lends to is I believe it is some sort of alien paranormal, veil creature, Lovecraftian thing going on. I don't think it's like a normal animal. The glowing eyes give it away as well. So I think I'm leaning towards the fact that I, one, believe in all that shit, and two, this is definitely not a black bear.
All right, Bree.
I'm definitely middle bitch towards fact. I guess you could just say maybe fact.
You're a middle fact.
Of course, I have questions. I'm a bitch fact. I do have questions. But I do indeed feel that this is different than the other animals in the area. I don't think it is anything like a black bear, and I haven't heard a decent argument to compare that to.
Don't open that can of worms.
And
I can't bear another minute of it.
I can't. I'm barely hanging on here. Yeah, and I also feel that, maybe it's an offshoot of a Bigfoot. Maybe what we think of a Bigfoot is really its own species, and then there's just like different variations, kind of like a human and
Or like the
whatnot.
way you think of bears. Yeah, there's like bears, but there's black bears and brown
Who
bears and polar
knows?
bears. Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, like I think that could very well be the case because the long hair definitely sets it apart. And in all of the cases, they very much are like honing in that this thing has long ass dreaded face body and smells like ass. And it could be from the dreads. It's like literally holding on to the stank. I think that's plausible. And then also, it could be one of those things where, like, Bobby has said time and time again, and I always, every time he like mentions it, I like remind myself, like, oh, we need to like look into that. But Bobby's always mentioned, why is there certain time periods where things happen, and is there some type of astronomical explanation? Could this apply somehow to astrology, somehow to astronomy, somehow with the stars, the placements, and that connecting to strange phenomena? And to me, I get the weird reminiscence of like the Mothman, how the Mothman, showed up for a period of time and things happened. And, in that area, we have these coinciding UFO reports. So much to now they want to be like a UFO capital in the same time period where all of those reports. So I'm kind of thinking, I wonder if this is one of those cases where we need to kind of log in our books as something to revisit. Maybe this is another time in history. And I'm sure we've looked at a lot of cases where things have happened in the early 70s for sure. That can link
that
up
seems
to
to be
this.
that seems to be the big, like, the late 60s through the 70s seems to be the big concentration of like cryptid Bigfoot type sightings, or it's almost the same way that like the late 40s to the 50s. Wait, when was Betty and Barney Hill?
50s.
Yeah, that's almost like the UFO concentrated. Not to say that they don't happen, and just like Bigfoot, not to say that those sightings don't still happen, but it's just weird how like there seems to be this like highly concentrated time frame that like is affiliated with phenomenon whatever.
For sure.
That's kind of kicks it all off.
Phenomenon X is associated with this decade and this decade. Yeah.
Right.
Oh man. You guys, that was a banger.
You know what?
I appreciate you.
I'm willing to
middle bitch it?
No, not gonna say that. I'm willing to look back at this if I get photographic or video evidence that I can look at, that I can
respect.
Absolutely say that's not a bear. It's not a fucking puma walking on its back legs.
Tony, let me ask you this:
doing backflips or some shit.
I feel like
you've looked at it. You're just.
I feel like that you've admitted that you believe in Bigfoot in the past.
I have, yes.
So why couldn't this just be a Bigfoot?
Because it's not.
Okay, Tony.
There's lots of other accounts where I feel like it gives more credence to it being possibly a black bear account rather than this one. This one's really dialing in on that long hair. Like, that's one thing that sets it aside from all the other hairs and bears.
Bear
hairs.
All right, so listen, let's go to Missouri and we'll go fucking hunt for it. We'll hunt for Momo.
Let's do it.
Toddy Waba does Momo.
That's Missouri. That's a pretty good middle point for all of us to meet at.
It really is, honestly. All right, guys, this has been a super fun
episode. Is my other slide still coming?
Oh, do we have another slide? Hold on, let me bring you back up. Hold on, I'm so sorry.
Bobby's got to do the.
Got it. Oh wait, hold on.
Oh, here we go. There we go. Sorry, Bobby. I apologize.
Little thingy? Do we have the
Jamie, I'm pressing the button. Don't do it. I'm doing it.
I'm not doing anything.
This is not a Momo or Bigfoot creature, but Momo is always described as having a pumpkin-shaped head. So I got to go ahead and recommend 1988's Pumpkinhead
Love it.
One of the few movies
Pumpkinhead
directed
2.
by Stan Winston, who was the special effects makeup artist on things like Terminator 2. He did some special effects on Jurassic Park, Aliens, all your favorite classics. He's worked on a lot of them. He's a legend in the field, but this is probably one of his. This is like his only like notable directorial debut or directorial project, and it is fucking awesome. It has Lance Hendrickson in it, and a kid that looks like the kid from Jerry Maguire is in it, and he gets like killed by some kids on a dirt bike. So Lance Hendrickson is his dad, and he goes up into the woods to try to like bring his son back to life and get revenge on the kids that killed his son. And so he goes and visits a witch, and the witch tells him how to summon the Pumpkinhead, and it turns into this like greasy, weird, darkly lit orange and blue slasher movie with this weird, amazing creature.
And
you can
Bobby,
see what
is it? Pumpkinhead 2, where it's under the bridge.
That's Red Hot Chili Peppers. I think so, because I don't recall that from the original, and Pumpkinhead 2 I watched like maybe 3 years ago, and I didn't really see a reason to ever watch it again. But
there was like the weird
Blood Wings, or what it's called.
Yeah,
but
Jamie, you've seen
the OG
Pumpkinhead?
No, no.
The OG Pumpkinhead is like a classic 1980s monster
I gotta watch
slasher. Like it is a essential every Halloween. Like once you watch it once, it's gonna be on your list. It's gonna.
Why don't I know that? Now I will. Hey,
now
also, just so you guys know, I've never even seen. I had this conversation the other day, and my dad told me the plot and was like, "You never have to see it now, but I still need to see it." I've never even seen all of the Alien movies.
You don't need to see.
You can skip the third one. Just see the first two.
Yeah,
and if you really want to, watch Prometheus.
If you want to.
That was
all right.
I like
anyone... does anyone have any final
Fassbender?
Does anyone have any final thoughtsies for the week?
I just watched Skimming on Shudder.
What?
It's called Skimming.
Do you pay for that?
No. I pay for Shudder. Yeah.
Can I get your login?
No. Rude. I love my horror movies, and Amazon is a horror.
Okay, anyways, go ahead. Tell us about it. Oh,
I think they spent like $5,000 to film the movie, $5,000 or $15,000 to film the movie. They made like $215 million off this movie. I watched it, and the entire time I wanted to kill myself more than the entire 10 fucking years I was in the United States military. It was
you recommend this movie?
Fucking movie
is
I
this
have
good
ever seen.
Bad?
It is horrible.
Well, I recommend Pumpkinhead.
Don't watch it.
Don't watch it.
So you're saying don't watch it.
No, none unless you
watch it.
Like, I would have had a better experience putting my dick in a blender with lemon.
Wow.
Maybe you should put your dick in a black bear's mouth. I think that's appropriate for you.
Yes. All right, Bree, any final thoughts with that sassy mouth?
That was a dick move, Bree.
That sassy black bear
Live
mouth.
long and prosper. Right, Tony?
Live long and prosper.
All right, Bibby, anything for you?
Not for everyone podcast. We just dropped an episode on Dr. Strangelove, and then coming up real soon, we're doing a new episode on Alejandro Jodorowsky's Santa Sangre, which is a very weird, surreal movie from the early 90s.
Ooh.
It's not for everyone. We cover movies that are not for everyone, and we are people that host it that are not for everyone. Consider yourself warned.
Yes, and we here on the Toddy Wabba. Oh, yeah, go ahead.
Last thought. Whoever's listening to us in Australia, thank you.
Oh, yeah, thank you. We had like over almost 3,000 downloads on our audio side, specifically from Australia on April 15th. Thank you. We appreciate it.
Just Toddy Wabba in general, or Bobby's Cryptid Corner?
It was everything
Body
from the
Wabbit.
beginning of podcast time until now. It was like it was like 50 people all at the same time downloaded our entire fucking catalog is how like the stats kind of read in Australia. Yeah.
It's been.
So if you like our stuff, we will be back on Thursday for our Super Serious Science Show. Kari is not here, but we do have Jeff from the Strange Recon podcast filling in. So it's going to be an exciting episode. So we are super pumped for that. So you guys have a good day Wednesday. Take a relax, hang out, and we'll see y'all on Thursday. We love you guys.
Yeah, and if you're the one person from Pakistan who is watching,
we want to know who you are.
Yeah, just let us know who you are, Ahmed.
All right, bye.